Today is Monday, the 11th of August, 2025, and marks day three of our long ride home motorcycle adventure. Norman and I are busy leaving the Duke of Bedford after a good night's rest from the day before, where we rode up from Cape St. Francis, which was probably about 5 hours, 300 kilometers. So it was quite a long day. If you're passing through Bedford and looking for a place to stay, would really recommend staying at the Duke. This little town is situated in the center of the Eastern Cape and dates back to the 1850s when Sir Andries Stockenstrom sold off portions of his land from a farm called Marstrom to raise funds for the restoration of his library, which had been burnt by the British soldiers after they'd lost trust in him as a peace broker in one of the frontier wars. Pricing for the accommodation, we found it really reasonable. I think it was just over 1,000 rand for the night, with two single beds in the room. There was an option for a room with a fireplace, which I think would be good for winter. And the dinner and breakfast was really good, and we could see plenty of renovations have taken place. A couple of points of interest included the Bedford Club, which dates back to 1920. There's the Bedford Drapers, 1899. Then you have the Presbyterian Church, 1863. St. Andrew's Anglican Church, 1878. There's an old pharmacy, dates back to 1903. And a war memorial from 1920. So a little town really worth visiting. At the moment, we're riding on the R63. Our plans for today's journey are to travel along the R63 tar road until we get to Seymour, where we'll turn off and then follow about a 15 to 20 kilometer gravel road section and then rejoin the R345, which then will take us up into the little town of Hogsback. Yeah, we are arriving in Adelaide, which is only 22 kilometers up the road from Bedford. This town is situated at the foot of the Winterberg Mountains, and it's known for its diverse landscape and role as a farming district. Adelaide also has a rich history marked by the arrival of different groups, including the Sandcloster, Boers, and Scottish settlers. It was established as a military post called Fort Adelaide in 1834. Adelaide's quite big for one of these small little towns. I think it spans almost 40 square kilometers with a population of around 13,000 people. Time to stop and fill up at the Fort Beaufort total. The last time we refueled was the day before at the Nacha farm stall. So it's been about 180 kilometers since we last had a chance to refuel. I think I'm quite lucky with my 24-liter tank. I've only had to put in an extra 10 liters. So the consumption and mileage I get out of a tank is anything between 500 and 600 kilometers. Obviously, it depends on wind conditions and how we're driving. Norman and I getting into a deep conversation about ABS and stability control settings before we hit the gravel roads. All fueled up and ready to head on to Seymour. Finally on the gravel road, we've just turned into Seymour, the little town. I'm sure there's not more than a couple of hundred people who live here. And we'll follow this gravel road for 15 to 20 kilometers before we'll turn onto some more tar, which takes us up into the little town of Hogsback. given it's still winter, the nights are somewhat cold, and hopefully, when we get up to the hotel, we'll have a room with a fireplace to keep us warm tonight. But the days are absolutely beautiful, and temperatures are anything 20 to 25 degrees. So it's really comfortable to ride in. This road's a little bit unkept, but we thoroughly enjoying it. It beats the hell out of being on the tar. Yeah, we were just pulling over to make sure everything was still tight and fast after that pretty rough section of road. As you can imagine, we used a couple of choice words. Norman also fortunately spotted a bee inside my helmet and managed to flick it out. That could have been a little bit of a disaster if it had stung me in the face while we were traveling. At this point, we hadn't quite decided where we were going to stay for the night, so we were still driving up the main street and going to make a decision, I suppose, a little bit later. Also, just trying to find a place where we can have something to eat. We're both quite hungry at this point. We ended up booking in and staying at the King's Lodge for the night, which turned out to be not a bad place. Well, it's just about after 3 o'clock, and we've arrived in Hogsback, and that sees the end of our day 3 journey.